Chapter 1 notes, function notation. Function notation is a special way that we can write a function. It is meant to be a precise way of giving information about a function without a lot of writing. We are used to writing equations such as y equals 3x plus 4. Now, that is a pretty standard way of writing a linear equation. In function notation, we simply replace the y, or the output, with what we call f of x. Okay? So f with an x in parentheses is read f of x. And the f of x just replaces the y. Okay? The x is meant as the input. Okay? And f of x is the output. That f on the outside of the parentheses next to the x does not mean multiplication. F is simply the name of the function. So you could also name a function g of x or h of x, etc. Okay? F is usually the first label used, g is usually the second label, etc., etc. And it's a way to name the function. So if I have more than one function we're talking about, I can be specific and say, f of x or g of x, etc. So look at the examples below. My first equation is f of x equals 3x minus 1. Okay? Keep in mind, as we do these, that the f of x is just a fancier way of saying y. Okay? So remember, y is the output. Now, example, you also notice there's a g of x here to the right, and g of x equals x squared. So they've given us two functions, and to differentiate between the two so we know which one we're talking about, one is labeled f and one is labeled g. So in A, where it says find f of 3, that's telling us use 3 as the input, okay, in the f equation. So I would say f of 3 equals 3 times 3 minus 1. So for A, it's telling me place 3 as the input into the f equation. Now we simply follow our order of operations rules. And first we do 3 times 3 is 9, and then 9 minus 1 is 8. So f of 3 equals 8. Now, what does that really mean? Well, 3 is the input, and when I plug 3 in and evaluate that side of the equation, I get the output. So I just found the point 3, 8. That point is a solution in that function. Okay. B says find g of 5. So this means this time I'm going to use the g equation, and I'm going to plug a 5 into it. So g of 5 is going to equal 5 squared. Now, this is just like what we did earlier when we evaluated expressions. We have to plug the value in. I would put it in parentheses like we did before, and then follow the order of operations. So 5 squared is 5 times 5, so g5 is 25. So if you want to think about this as a point, 5 is the input, 25 is the output. Now, example C, this is a little different. Notice in this one, I'm not given like f of 3 in the first example, or g5 in the second example. This time I'm told that I want to find x if f of x is 29. Okay? Keep in mind, I'll write this in blue below, that our points are going to be made up of x's as the input and f of x's as the output. So this is really asking me to find x if I know the output, or if I know, like in our previous situations, it would be the y. So it's saying use the f equation And when will the output be 29? So here's my equation, the F equation. The output is 29, so that goes here. And I want to find the input that would give me that output. So I would simply solve this equation for x. And hopefully you remember how to do this. We want to get x all by itself, so I need to get rid of that, of subtracting 1. And we do that by adding 1. So now I get 3x equals 30. And then I would divide both sides by 3. X equals 10. So I just figured out that when the output is 29, the input is 10. Okay, so looking at examples A and B, if there's a number in parentheses, that's the input. You put that into the equation for the variable and solve it. If I'm asked to find x, or the input, given the output, I simply plug in the output and solve the equation for the input. Good luck.